In this video, we will look at how to quickly draw an urban scene in two-point perspective. Our main subject is a beautiful corner building from the city of Florence. We will also talk about how to approach sketching complex scenes in a simple way, and we will do this by constructing a basic volume in perspective, a simple box, and gradually we will add more details on top. So, let's start. First, I start by placing the horizon line. Then, I continue with drawing the main vertical. The main vertical is the vertical edge of the building that is closest to us. From the top of this main vertical, I draw a converging line to a vanishing point on the right. This is done by approximation. We also have a vanishing point to the left, but that one is really far away and it doesn't fit on the paper. Where these converging lines intersect with the horizon line is where the vanishing points are. So we have two vanishing points and both of them are placed on the horizon line. One of them, the one on the right, fits on the paper and it will help us a lot build our drawing, but we also have one that is far away to the left and doesn't fit our paper, and we will extend lines that converge to this vanishing point on the left by approximation. Then I continue with drawing the other vertical lines to suggest the volume of the building, and in this way I'm defining our basic volume, the simple box. So at this point we have our building, the main box of the building, in perspective. I'm also suggesting the overhang roof, and this roof is a bit like an extension of the perimeter of the building. It's just a bit further away, but it follows the same profile. And all these lines besides the vertical ones converge either to one vanishing point or the other. The width lines converge to the vanishing point on the right, and the length lines converge to the vanishing point on the left. The next step is to suggest the levels of the building. And to do this, first we can identify how many levels there are, and we can see that we have 4 levels in total, the ground floor being a bit higher. After dividing the main vertical line into 4 segments, I extend lines that converge to vanishing points. Now we can continue with placing the windows. As you see, on the main facade there are 3 columns of windows, one in the center of the facade and 2 on the lateral sides. So we can start with finding the center of this facade in perspective, and a good way to do this is by using the diagonals. The simple rule that at the intersection of the diagonals is the center of the surface also applies to two-point perspective. Now I continue with suggesting the neighbor buildings on the left, and a thing to notice here is that they follow their own set of 2 vanishing points. And one of these 2 vanishing points, it fits on the paper on the left. And this happens because our subject is a scene from the old town of Florence, and specific to old towns are organic street structures that do not follow today's rectangular grid. So this corner building and the buildings on the left, they both follow their own orthogonal grid. That's why they both have their own set of 2 vanishing points. A thing to remember is that this type of doing quick sketches are exercises for practice. It's more important to learn how to see and draw the big box, the big volume, proportional and correct in perspective. Then you can transform it into an amazingly detailed drawing if you want. But that is a different kind of exercise. It's not the purpose of today's video. In this video we are looking at how to quickly draw and freehand construct our drawings in two-point perspective. Now I'm suggesting the building on the right, and we'll not focus too much on this one, but it's nice to have it here to give more context to the scene. Then I continue with suggesting the pedestrian side along the main building, and this has the role to ground our building. Now coming back to the windows, so after using the diagonals to find the 3 verticals on the facade, I draw a thicker line that for me symbolizes the center of every window. And I see this thicker line, this one line in the center, as a guideline, as a helper to quickly find the placement of all the windows. So the top and the base lines of the windows are following the perspective. They converge to our initial vanishing point that is far away outside the frame. I continue suggesting the width of every window by approximation, but it's important to make them slightly different size to convey depth. So the ones that are closer to the main vertical line will be a bit bigger than the ones that are further away on the left. Just a tiny bit of difference will do the trick. After this, at the ground floor, I suggest a small awning just to make the scene more interesting. Then I'm suggesting a few details for the windows, different types of details. This comes to your personal preference and also depends on your patience, on your spontaneity, and I think there isn't any good or wrong, it's just the vibrancy that you put on the paper in this specific moment. So I'm doing the same on the right facade, constructing the windows here. There is also a small part of the building that is a bit more inside, extruded inside. And I place the windows by again dividing that vertical line into 4 different segments, the lower one being a bit higher. And from those points, I extend the lines that converge to the vanishing point on the right. And again continue by giving a bit of width to the window. So now I also suggest a few details on the roof, and I also suggest some of the other buildings on the street. They follow the same perspective and vanishing points. Some are higher, some are lower, and they are very nice to draw, to suggest, because they give context to the drawing and they also tell more about the fact that we are in an urban scene. I love to see construction lines because they tell more about the drawing process and they also make the drawing a bit more personal and keeps a certain vibrancy. So now we can clearly see that we are drawing a corner of a street, an urban scene with connected buildings, part of a neighborhood. So, suggesting some cables in the air, in this way we can visually connect different parts of the composition. And I'm also suggesting a few figures. They also help in conveying depth. So no matter if they are smaller figures far away or closer figures, so bigger shapes as they are closer to us, their eye level will always be placed on the horizon line. This is just a rough sketch on a simple copy paper. I encourage you to do as many of these as you can and draw freely without being afraid of ruining a drawing. I really hope you've enjoyed this video.